My sister destroyed my relationship because she couldn't have her one true love, so I made her watch him fall for me instead. The champagne glass slipped from Mia's fingers the second she saw us walk in. The sound of crystal shattering on marble echoed through my parents' dining room, but nothing could match the look of pure devastation on my sister's face when she realized who was holding my hand. "Everyone," I announced, my voice steady as steel, "this is Ethan. Let me back up. My younger sister Mia has been using the same pathetic excuse since she turned 21 to justify being an absolute piece of shiz to everyone around her. She can't have her one true love, so apparently that gives her a free pass to destroy everyone else's happiness. And I don't mean that in the cute, oh she's still hung upon her ex kind of way. I mean it like, if you're happy, she'll find a way to make you miserable, then blame it on her tragic backstory. All because of one guy named Ethan she met at a college party 4 years ago. They hooked up once, he never called, and somehow that became her origin story for being a complete monster. It started with her best friend Jess. One weekend, Mia crashed at Jess's place, and by Monday morning, Jess's boyfriend was sliding into Mia's DMs with good morning texts. When Jess walked in on them tangled up in her own damn bed, you know what Mia said. "You don't understand what it's like to lose your soulmate." Jess never spoke to her again. Smart girl. Then came our cousin's engagement party. Mia showed up in a dress that probably cost more than most people's rent, got wine drunk, and cornered the groom in the bathroom. His exact words later, she kept saying I reminded her of someone special. Thank God he had enough sense to push her off and tell his fiancé immediately. But Mia? She cried to our parents about how seeing happy couples triggered her trauma. Mom bought her a fucking spa weekend to help her heal. By the time I met Ryan, I knew the drill. Family dinners were off limits. I scrubbed Mia from my social media and told him my sister was going through something and needed space. For 2 blissful years it worked. We got engaged last spring, nothing fancy, just us and our closest friends. I made one mistake, though. I mentioned it at Mom's birthday dinner. Mia's eyes lit up like Christmas morning. "I'm so happy for you," she purred, pulling me into a hug that felt more like a python squeeze. "When do I get to meet him?" A week later, Ryan showed me his phone, laughing. "Your sister found me on Instagram. Look at these messages." We read them together, mocking her desperation. He promised to block her. I thought we were safe. 3 weeks before my wedding, I had the flu. Bad. Ryan was supposed to be at his brother's golf tournament, but my friend texted me she'd seen his Tesla in the visitor parking at Mia's apartment complex. My chest went cold. Fever and all, I drove over and used the spare key Mia had given me for emergencies. I found them on her couch. Her head in his lap, his hand tangled in her hair, both half-dressed and breathing heavy. She looked up at me with those crocodile tears already forming. "I'm so sorry," she whispered, voice all breathy and fake. "He just reminds me so much of Ethan and I." I didn't stick around for the rest of her Oscar-worthy performance. Ryan didn't even try to fight for what we had. Didn't chase after me, didn't call, didn't show up at my door begging for forgiveness. Nothing. Just radio silence and a wedding venue I'd never use. That's when I decided she'd finally learn what losing really feels like. See, here's the thing about Ethan, he wasn't some mysterious ghost who vanished into thin air. We'd been following each other on Instagram for 3 years. Mutual friends from college, occasional likes on each other's posts, but we'd never really talked. He lived 3 hours away, worked as a physical therapist, and posted the cutest videos of his golden retriever. So I slid into his DMs with a simple message, "Hey, this is weird, but my sister had a thing for you in college and just ruined my wedding. Wanna help me ruin her life?" He responded in 12 minutes, "Mia. The girl who showed up at my mom's house." Oh, I'm in. Turns out, after their one-night hookup, Mia had driven to his hometown and introduced herself to his mother as an old friend. She spun some bullshit story about how Ethan was the love of her life, and they'd been separated by circumstances. His poor mother, bless her heart, believed every word. She invited Mia for tea, they took selfies together, and Mia even posted one with the caption, "Reuniting with my future mother-in-law." 2 hearts. Ethan sent me everything, screenshots, videos, even an audio recording of his mom saying, "She seemed so sincere, dear. I hope I didn't cause any problems." That's when I knew Mia wasn't going to stop. She didn't know how to love, only how to possess. And what she couldn't have, she destroyed. But this time, she didn't count on 2 things: that I was done being the doormat sister, and that Ethan was more than willing to play her game. We planned every detail. He'd come visit for Dad's birthday weekend, the one family event no one ever missed. I hadn't spoken to Mia since I caught her with Ryan, but I knew she'd be there, putting on her perfect family act. Friday afternoon, I picked Ethan up from the bus station. Holy shiz, he was even more gorgeous in person. Tall, broad shoulders, this easy smile that made my stomach flip. The kind of man who commanded attention without trying, the exact opposite of someone Mia could manipulate. "You ready for this?" he asked, sliding into my passenger seat. "I've been ready for years." Saturday at 1 p.m. sharp, we pulled up to my parents' house. I walked in wearing a new dress that hugged every curve, heels that made me tower, and the biggest smile I'd worn in months. Ethan's fingers were laced through mine like we'd been lovers for years. Mia was in the living room, mid-laugh with my uncle when she spotted us. The sound died in her throat like someone had cut her vocal cords. "Everyone," I announced, voice carrying across the room, "this is Ethan." The name hit her like a freight train. She went white, then red, then forced the sick smile like she was trying not to vomit. "Ethan," she managed, voice cracking. "Well. What a coincidence." He smiled, all polite charm. "Hey, Mia. Good to see you again." That destroyed any control she thought she still had. She stammered something unintelligible while I settled onto the couch with him, already pulling out my phone for photos. Every smile, every laugh, every casual touch was a knife to her ego. During lunch, she tried to engage him in conversation, bringing up college memories that never actually happened. But Ethan made sure to look at me the whole time, calling me love, keeping his arm around my shoulders. Every endearment made Mia's jaw clench like she was chewing glass. After the birthday toast, she finally cracked. Locked herself in the bathroom like a teenager having a meltdown. I followed her, knocking until she opened the door. Her makeup was smeared, eyes red and desperate. "What do you want?" she spat. "Just checking if you're okay," I said, voice dripping with fake concern. "Must be hard seeing your soulmate in your sister's arms, right? You're doing this just to hurt me. And you destroyed my engagement just because you couldn't stand seeing me happy. So no, Mia, this is justice." "He was mine," she screamed, actually punching the wall. "I saw him first. I felt it first." "No, Mia. You saw him once at a party. He never wanted you. You invented a love story in your head, and used it as an excuse to be cruel to everyone around you. But now you get to sit there and watch him love me. And unlike you, I didn't have to beg for it." She collapsed on the bathroom floor, sobbing like the world was ending. Mom started knocking, asking if everything was okay. I opened the door and walked out with my head high. Went straight back to Ethan, who kissed my forehead and whispered, "She's going to lose it even more. You ready?" I've never been more ready for anything in my life. The next morning, Mom called before 8 a.m., asking for empathy. "Mia spent the whole night crying," she said. "She's fragile, honey. You should have avoided provoking her." "Provoking her?" I laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Mom, showing up with my boyfriend to a family dinner is provoking her. Or is it just that Mia can't handle seeing anyone happy without being the center of attention? Your sister has a sensitive heart." "Sensitive?" I cut her off. "She slept with my fiancé 3 weeks before my wedding, and you're worried about her feelings. I was home alone with a fever, and she was sprawled across him on her couch. "We'll talk later," Mom said and hung up. That's when I realized no one in this family was going to defend me. They'd always treated Mia like a broken ornament, too delicate to hold accountable. But they forgot she had claws. She'd always had them. Monday, Ethan was still in town. I took him to brunch with my friends, the ones who knew exactly what Mia had been pulling since high school. He was magnetic, charming everyone effortlessly while staying completely focused on me. The girls kept shooting me looks like they couldn't believe this was my life now. "This revenge is too beautiful," my friend Sarah whispered while Ethan was in the bathroom. The afternoon got even better. Ethan posted a photo of us on Instagram, just the two of us in the park, simple caption, "Sometimes love appears when you least expect it." The comments started innocent enough. Hearts from cousins, fire emojis from friends. Then Mia showed up. At Mia.soulmate commented, "This is disgusting. You know what he means to me." Ethan liked her comment and replied with surgical precision, "We hooked up once, Mia. Once. And you followed me to my mom's house the next day. That's not love, that's obsession. Holy shiz." Within an hour, the post went viral in our social circles. People who'd known Mia since high school started commenting things like, "Finally someone said it, and I always thought her obsession was weird, and karma is real." She went silent on the post, but sent me a series of voice messages on WhatsApp crying, screaming, asking how I could use him against her. The last one ended with, "You're destroying my life for revenge." I texted back, "No, I'm showing you how to rebuild after being destroyed. Something you never learned how to do." Then I blocked her. But I wasn't finished. Not even close. Thursday night, I got the notification I'd been expecting. Mia had posted on Instagram a selfie with tear-streaked cheeks, that dim bedroom lighting that screams desperation. The caption: "It's hard watching your sister steal the men you love, laugh at your pain, and get applauded for it. I'm not perfect, but no one deserves this." Over 1,000 likes within hours. Comments pouring in, "Stay strong, babe, you'll get through this, your sister sounds toxic." Some people I actually cared about reposted it. Friday morning, I showed up at my parents' house unannounced. "What are you doing here?" Mom asked, surprised. "Family meeting." Now. I walked into the living room where Dad was reading. Mia came down the stairs like she was attending her own funeral, sweatpants, messy bun, that perfect victim face she'd mastered. "Did something happen?" she asked, voice all sweet and innocent. "Yeah, something happened. I'm done with you manipulating everyone and playing victim." I stopped in the center of the room, looking at all of them. "Mom, Dad, did you see the post? Do you really think this is fair? Do you remember who destroyed whose wedding?" "Honey, this isn't how you solve," Mom started. "No. You're going to listen for once." I turned to Mia. "You seduced Ryan. You betrayed me in the worst possible way. You said sorry with fake tears and thought you'd keep being the family princess. But the tables have turned. Now you're the one crying on the floor. And no one's coming to save you this time." Mia stayed silent, tears streaming. "I'm tired of being the forgotten daughter while you put on your little victim shows. The stage is mine now. And guess what? The audience is on my side." I left without waiting for a response. In the car, Ethan was waiting with coffee, and that smile that had started to mean everything to me. "How'd it go?" he asked. "Perfect. She finally understands, she has no control anymore." He grinned. "You know what? Getting revenge on her was more therapeutic than I expected." "Yeah," I said, then paused. "You know what's even better?" "What?" Part 2 is just getting started. The next few weeks were a masterclass in social warfare. Every event we attended, every photo we posted, every moment of happiness we shared was another nail in Mia's reputation coffin. Andre's restaurant opening. We were the couple of the moment, featured on 3 different event pages. Amanda's wedding. Our cousin personally asked me to bring Ethan after years of dealing with Mia's drama. When Mia tried to approach him during the couple's dance, asking if she could talk to him, Ethan looked her dead in the eye and said, "No, I'm busy loving your sister." She actually tripped over her own dress trying to back away. No one laughed, they just ignored her. That hurt more than any insult could have. But my favorite moment came when I was invited onto a podcast about new beginnings and overcoming toxic relationships. I didn't use names, but I told the story: the narcissistic sister, the cheating fiancé, the calculated revenge, and the unexpected love that grew from it all. The episode went viral. Messages poured in from people saying they'd been through similar situations, that my story gave them hope. Mia listened. I know she did, because she slid into my DMs that same day. "Do you really need to humiliate yourself publicly just for applause?" I replied without hesitation, "It's not humiliation. It's liberation. I lived in your shadow for years. Now the story is mine." She never responded. Over the following weeks, I heard through mutual friends that Mia was becoming increasingly isolated. Brand partnerships she'd been pursuing fell through. People started commenting on her posts about her obsession with that guy from college. The carefully curated reputation she'd built with filters and fake inspirational quotes began crumbling. And the beautiful part? She did it to herself. I just gave her the rope. Meanwhile, something unexpected was happening between Ethan and me. What started as an alliance became something real, something that made me forget Ryan had ever existed. The first time I realized I wasn't thinking about my ex anymore was a random Tuesday morning. Ethan was in my kitchen, shirtless, making pancakes while humming some 2000 song, and doing these ridiculous little dance moves that made me laugh until my sides hurt. Watching him, I realized Ryan was nothing but a shadow in a dusty corner of my memory. It wasn't just the way Ethan looked at me though. God, the way he looked at me like I was the only person in the world was intoxicating. It was how he listened to my childhood stories with genuine interest, even though he'd heard them all before. How he showed up with coffee and a tow truck when my car broke down. How he sat with me on the kitchen floor during an anxiety attack, not saying a word, just holding my hand until I could breathe again. Ryan had been all future promises. Ethan was present actions. One night over dinner at this little bistro downtown, he reached across the table and took my hand. "You know what's funny," he said, that light tone I'd grown addicted to. "We started this whole thing to mess with your sister, but I never pretended anything with you." My heart stopped. "I'm not pretending anymore either." He raised his wine glass. "To the best revenge, then." "No," I corrected, smiling. "To what comes after revenge." We toasted, and for the first time in longer than I could remember, I felt completely at peace. No resentment, no ghosts, no need for validation from anyone else. Just me and him, and this beautiful thing we'd built from the ashes of someone else's cruelty. A few days later, walking downtown, I saw Ryan. Alone, shoulders hunched, looking like the world was crushing him. It was automatic, I looked away. Not from pain, but because it simply didn't matter anymore. He saw me, hesitated like he might approach. But when Ethan appeared and slipped his fingers through mine, Ryan backed away. Maybe he finally understood there was no space for him in my life anymore. The place he'd wasted with lies and betrayal was now occupied by someone who gave me everything without me having to beg for scraps. That night, I held Ethan tighter and whispered, "Thank you for showing up." He looked at me with that calm smile that said everything words couldn't, and I knew revenge had given me justice, but what came after gave me love. Months passed. What started as a sharp response to my sister's poison became the sweetest part of my life. Ethan wasn't a plan anymore, wasn't a move in some elaborate game. He was home. We fell into this easy routine, sometimes at my place, sometimes at his, where his golden retriever insisted on sleeping between us like a furry chaperone to our unlikely love story. He asked me to be his girlfriend on the most ordinary night imaginable on my couch, eating pizza from the box, watching some ridiculous documentary about sharks. Think it's too early for this? He asked, balancing the pizza box on his lap, that crooked smile playing at his lips. Or maybe it's already too late. We've survived worse than most couples married 20 years, I laughed. It's just a title, but yeah. I want it. And that was that. Simple, honest, real. We stopped talking about Mia altogether. She'd blocked Ethan on everything, told mutual acquaintances she'd never forgive me for stealing the love of her life. She conveniently forgot to mention she'd destroyed my wedding first. But you know what? I didn't care anymore. At first, I thought I'd keep obsessing over whether she'd ever acknowledge her guilt, whether she'd apologize. But the freedom I felt when I stopped needing Mia's approval was the greatest gift that whole nightmare gave me. She didn't come to my birthday. Didn't respond to Mom's Christmas messages. Stayed away, hurt and bitter while I moved on. I traveled with Ethan to visit his hometown, met his mother officially this time, helped him paint his new clinic, learned to manage his chaos of a dog. We built something light and honest, without masks or games. One afternoon, lying in his hammock, listening to birds and feeling the breeze, he asked, "Do you still think this was all just revenge?" I thought about it, then smiled, turning to face him. Maybe it started that way. But it ended up being the best thing I ever did for myself. He kissed my forehead, and we stayed quiet, just breathing together. Revenge became love. And ironically, that probably hurt Mia more than anything else I could have planned. She'd spent her whole life wanting to be the center of attention, the most beautiful, most desired, most worthy of love. But it was off stage, away from her manufactured drama, that I found what she'd spent years pretending to have. I was never the family favorite. Never the most loved, never the perfect sister. But I was the one who learned how to transform pain into strength, rejection into freedom, and revenge into something beautiful. And that? No one can ever take away from me. 6 months later, when I thought the storms had finally passed, Ryan called. I didn't answer the first time, or the second. On the third call, Ethan was beside me. "Answer it," he said simply. "You need to close this chapter." "Hello," I said, voice neutral as Switzerland. "Melissa, it's me." Ryan sounded exhausted, defeated. Can we talk? In person?" I almost hung up. But Ethan was right, some doors need to be shut properly. We met at a neutral cafe, far from any places that held our history. When I arrived, he looked like he'd aged years in months. Disheveled hair, dark circles you could swim in. "Thank you for coming," he said, not meeting my eyes. "What do you want, Ryan?" He sighed like his soul was leaking out. I wanted to apologize. Really apologize. And explain. Explain what? That you were half naked with my sister 3 weeks before our wedding. It wasn't. He stopped, shook his head. She came to me when you were sick. Said she needed to tell me something important about you, that there were things from your past I needed to know before marrying you. I felt that familiar knot in my stomach. Classic Mia. And you believed her? She had evidence, he said, making air quotes. Or things that looked like evidence. Said you'd destroyed some girl's life in high school, that you were vindictive, manipulative. She showed me old conversations taken completely out of context. He finally looked at me. I got scared, confused. And she said she'd been in love with me since we met, that she just hadn't said anything out of respect for you. That if I called off the wedding, she'd be there for me. So you slept with her. I was drinking. I was confused by everything she'd told me. Ryan, I interrupted. None of that justifies what you did. I know. Tears started forming. 5 minutes after you left, I understood. I understood she'd manipulated me, that it was all lies, that I'd destroyed the best thing in my life because of her games. I stayed quiet for a long moment. You know what hurts most? It's not even what you did. It's that you didn't trust me. In 2 years together, you believed her word over everything you knew about who I really was. He lowered his head. I tried calling you afterward. 1,000 times. Went to your house, but you were never there. Then I saw the photos with him, and understood it was too late. It was too late the moment you put your hands on her, I said, standing up. But thank you for explaining. It helps me know I made the right choice. He looked at me one last time. Are you happy with him? I smiled for the first time during our entire conversation. Happier than I ever imagined I could be. And I walked away without resentment, just with absolute certainty that some doors need to slam shut for others to open completely. The conversation with my family took longer to happen. 3 months before Mom finally called, suggesting lunch to work things out. I found her different, older, more tired, like the weight of everything had finally settled on her shoulders. How are you? She asked, hesitant. Good, Mom. Really good. And Ethan? He's good too. We're good. She nodded, fidgeting with her napkin like a nervous teenager. I need to apologize to you. My chest tightened. Mom? Let me talk. She looked me in the eyes for the first time. I always knew Mia was difficult, but I thought if I gave her more attention, more protection, she'd change. And in the process, I neglected you. I left you to deal with the consequences of her problems alone. Tears started streaming down my face. After you confronted us that day, I started putting pieces together. The friends Mia lost, the boyfriends who disappeared, the stories that never quite added up. I realized you and Mia had been telling me very different versions of the same events, and I always chose to believe hers. Why? I asked, voice choked. Because she cried louder, Mom admitted, her voice breaking. Because you always seemed stronger, more capable of taking care of yourself. I confused strength with not needing support. We sat in silence for a few minutes. How is Mia? I finally asked. She moved to another state. She's in therapy, says she needs to start over away from all this. Mom hesitated. She asked me to tell you that she knows she was wrong, but she can't apologize yet. And I can't forgive yet, I replied honestly. Maybe someday, but not now. I understand. She reached across the table. Can I try to be a better mother? To you? I took her hand. We can try to be a better family. But it'll take time. She smiled through her tears. I have time. A few weeks later, Dad showed up at my door with flowers and the expression of a man who didn't quite know how to say what needed saying. Can I come in? He asked, almost shy. Of course, Dad. Ethan greeted him politely before giving us space to talk. I like him, Dad said, straight to the point. Seems like a good man. He is. I came because your mother said you two talked. And I realized I never apologized to you. Dad wasn't one for lengthy speeches, so this surprised me. I always knew Mia was problematic, but I thought it wasn't my place, that it was women's business, that your mother would handle it. But you both suffered. And you especially. Dad. Let me finish. He sat on the edge of my couch. I failed as a father. Failed to protect you, failed to educate her, failed to teach you both that sisters should support each other, not destroy each other. My throat felt tight. Your mother told me about Ryan, about what Mia did to you. He shook his head. If it were me, I'd never forgive. But you found a way to transform all that pain into something good. I'm proud of that. I'm proud of you. They were words I'd waited my whole life to hear. Thank you, Dad. Do you think there's still time for me to be a better father? I smiled through my tears. There's always time. That night, I told Ethan everything. He listened in silence, just holding my hand. How do you feel? He asked when I finished. Free, I said, surprised by my own answer. For the first time, truly free. And about Mia? I thought for a moment. I hope she finds peace. Away from me, but I hope she finds it. He smiled and kissed my forehead. You're incredible, you know that. We're incredible, I corrected. Us? And it was true. Because in the end, this wasn't just about beating Mia, or getting perfect revenge. It was about learning I deserved to be loved properly, defended, respected. It was discovering that family isn't just who you're born with, but who chooses to stay by your side through everything. It was realizing that sometimes, to find the love of your life, you first have to stop accepting crumbs from people who never valued you. Today, when I wake up next to Ethan with his ridiculous dog sprawled across our feet, I know every battle was worth it. Because they brought me here to him, to us, to this peace I never knew I could have. Mia taught me what I wouldn't tolerate. Ethan taught me what I deserved. And honestly, that's the best revenge of all.